Alright guys, so first exercise, muscle ups. This one is optional in the program. Reason being that it is relatively difficult, and also if you're kind of new to this, it takes up so much energy that, like, let's say you can only do 3 and it absolutely kills you. Well, if you're exhausted, you can't do the rest of the workout. It might be a little bit difficult. I would rather you finish a full workout, like all the actual exercises in your circuit, as opposed to wasting all your energy doing one exercise, which you can kind of maybe barely do with bad form, and then you're exhausted. Probably the most challenging, in my opinion, exercise, as opposed to everything else in the entire workout. But the way that you actually do it, this one's very technique based. It's not necessarily just strength. It's more so like a combination of both. And in terms of muscles, it's too many to count. Unlike other exercises, which usually it's like 2 or 3, you know, there's like a main muscle group and then a secondary muscle group. The muscle up, because of the complexity of the movement, there's a lot of stuff going on. It uses your back, your lats, your core to stabilize. At the top, it even uses, you know, your shoulders and your triceps. Your biceps at the bottom are under constant tension the entire time. It uses like everything. The muscle up by itself, do like 5 reps, do that 4 or 5 times, that's it. You gotta work out in and of itself just because of all the muscle groups being utilized. It's very hard to do a perfect muscle up where there's absolutely no momentum. But if you use a little bit of momentum, a little bit more of a beginner-friendly muscle up, I can get closer to 6, 7, 8, 10 reps in a single set. That's probably what I recommend to you guys. And eventually, once you get better, once you get stronger, then you can start doing the super strict, like where your legs are completely stationary, 0 momentum style muscle up. So the way that I like to do it is you're always going to give a little bit of momentum. So it's not like just, that's it. No, it's not like that. You actually want to kick a little bit forward, and then on the way up, that's when you actually do the muscle. See that? So first there's that little kick, push a little bit forward, and then on the way back, that's when you use the momentum to actually get into the muscle up. The other thing that you have to look into, this is probably the most important thing. The muscle up isn't just you kind of like thrusting yourself up. It's actually what I like to do. This is an exercise we're going to be doing later in the actual workout. I don't actually know the name of this because everybody calls it differently. So what I like to call it is just elevated L-sits or swinging L-sits, some kind of L-sits. So you're going to do a little bit of that kick forward, get that momentum going as you swing back. Get yourself into that L-sit. A lot of this is going to be coming from, it's pretty much like your lats and your back, because it's essentially it's a similar exercise in the gym. We have like a bar and you press down. Here it's the same thing, except instead of pressing it down, you're pressing on the bar and then lifting your body up. You do that, and that swinging motion with your feet kicking in the beginning, and then as you swing back, the momentum plus also the force of your lats pressing down on the bar, it's going to get you into that, you know, it's almost like you whip around the bar, and then afterwards you just need to, you know, it's all about speed and technique. You just have to practice. Get your elbows above the bar, and then the rest of it is pretty much just you doing, it's like almost like a push-up. You just push off the bar. All right, next up, dips. This one's very basic exercise for your triceps. There are 3 ways of doing dips in increasing difficulty. Number 1 is you do it on any kind of step or bench with your legs on the ground. This is probably the easiest one. If you're a beginner, this is probably the best way to get started. Eventually, once you can do more than like 12, 15, 20, 25 reps, at that point, it's getting a little bit too easy. You need to get to a harder version of it, or simply add some weight, whether it be plates on your deck or like a weighted vest or something. So the next way to get it a little bit more difficult is, I can't do it here because I don't have a step, but it'll pretty much be this exact exercise, except instead of your legs on the ground, your legs would be elevated probably by around the same height. So if you have like a bench, you can just put your legs up on that. As long as your legs are elevated like 1 or 2 feet off the ground, that's essentially all you need to do. That's going to put more, you're going to be lifting a higher percentage of your actual body weight as opposed to what I showed you earlier. The third option for dips, this is pretty much the standard. If you guys are a bit more experienced, you have some gym exercise experience, you know, you can do bench press, tricep exercises in the gym like cable extensions, dumbbell extensions, all this stuff. Your triceps might be already pretty strong, so you don't need to start on that stuff. You can go right into the standard body weight dips where you're lifting 100% of your body weight as opposed to having something supported on a bench or on the ground. Regular dip bar. This exercise is fantastic, primarily focusing on your triceps, but also to a certain extent, somewhat of your chest, especially your lower chest, your lower pecs. Pull-ups, this is nothing new, nothing special, really fantastic exercise for your back, specifically your lats, and also to a certain extent, your actual biceps. When it comes to pull-ups, big thing I want to mention is get a decent range of motion. And what I mean by that is at the very bottom, you're not stopping here. No, you're fully locking out your arms, your body's pretty much in a dead hang. And then at the top, you're actually getting to a point where your chin is around the height of the bar. Some people stop when the bar is like here, like, oh, I did it. No, you didn't. You did like 0.7 of a pull-up, not a full one. One thing you guys will notice, when it comes to muscle ups, I do advocate, you know, a little bit of momentum. You're using a little bit of kipping, as we call it, where you're actually using the momentum of your legs and your body weight. When it comes to pretty much every other exercise, such as dips and pull-ups, I try to minimize that. But at the same time, do so according to your experience level. If you can barely do 10 pull-ups, but you need a little bit of kipping, a little bit of momentum, that's okay, because I want to be able to push yourself. If you can do 8 normally or 10 with a little bit of momentum, do the 10. It's almost a little bit of a way of overloading your body just a little bit. But if you can do 10 normally, do 10 normally. You know, don't do like, oh, I'm gonna do 12 or 15 with garbage form. You don't, at that point, you know, if you can get a decent number of reps with good form, just do that. You don't have to overdo it. Sometimes I see people just like air humping the bar and their legs are all over the place. Essentially CrossFit, yeah, that's not a pull-up anymore. I don't know what that is. All right, Australian pull-ups. This one has 2 versions. Both of them are going to primarily focus on the back. This is essentially mimicking that of a barbell row, except instead of rowing weight, you're rowing your body up towards the bar. Now, this one has 2 versions because you can simply do it overhand or underhand. You can call it Australian pull-ups or reverse Australian pull-ups. Reverse is gonna have a little bit more of an emphasis on your actual bicep. So I'm gonna show you guys both. First one we're gonna do is regular standard Australian pull-ups. Your hands should probably be nothing too close, nothing too wide. You know, more or less shoulder width, maybe just a little bit more than that. So my shoulders are here, I might go like that. Now reverse. This one you might have to come a little bit closer in terms of your grip. The standard Australian pull-up, it's gonna be a lot of this. And when doing reverse, it's gonna be a lot of this. Overall, generally training the same aspects of your back, your rhomboid minor, rhomboid major, your lats, but just doing so in a little bit of a different fashion. All right, push-ups. Now, I'm not gonna go into too much detail about this because I'm pretty sure everybody and their grandmother knows how to do push-ups. One thing I will mention, a lot of people do a mistake when they start doing push-ups. They think their arms or their hands have to be out here. They do push-ups like this. They think they have to be in a perfect T position. That's not very good. It's not very effective for your pecs. It's putting a lot of not necessary strain on your actual front anterior deltoids. What you do, bring it in a little bit. Doesn't have to be here. Doesn't have to be here. This is 90 degrees. This is 0. Notice my arm should be about like 45 degrees. Like this. 45 degrees, arms flared out slightly at a 45-degree angle. Perfect. A good amount of emphasis on your actual chest, your pectorals, which is the goal of the exercise, without too much stress on your anterior deltoids. Okay, L-sit raises. I talked about this one a little bit earlier. This one is essentially, it's almost like half a muscle up. The reason we do this is, in addition to train your back and your lats, we're doing this because if you become better at this exercise, it's gonna make your muscle ups a lot easier. If you guys are watching this and you can't do a muscle up, you know, you don't have the technique down, or you simply don't have the actual strength in your back to get yourself into that position, you know, the first half of the muscle up to actually get yourself over the bar. If you can't do muscle up, that's fine. Do this. The better you get at this, the easier muscle ups will become. Okay, diamond push-ups. This one, it's very similar in the gym to the close grip bench press. Whereas instead of focusing primarily on your chest and somewhat on your triceps, it's kind of reversed. You're putting a lot more emphasis on your triceps, and then obviously your chest is still somewhat activated. It's pretty much impossible to do any kind of like pushing, you know, push-up movement or push-up alternative or variation without having at least some chest involvement. But at least in this case, we focus a lot more on the triceps. All right, decline push-ups. These ones are very similar to the standard push-up, except in this case, you're doing it, the reason we call it decline is because you are in a decline in comparison to your feet, which are gonna be inclinated a little bit. You know, how hard you wanna do it depends on how much of an incline you're doing with your feet. Easy, harder, much harder. If you train calisthenics and you don't wanna, you don't have access to a gym, or you simply don't wanna train in the gym, and you want a way of isolating your upper pectorals, and you don't have access to an incline bench press or an incline dumbbell press, this is a good alternative. Okay, next up, this one's called Around the World. It's a bit of an interesting name, but you'll see what I mean. It's very similar to the hanging leg raise, except instead of bringing your legs up, it's as the name implies. You're gonna do kind of like an around the world, almost like a full 360 circular motion. It's gonna train not only your abdominals, but also your obliques, pretty much your entire midsection. It's a bit challenging, but like, 8 to 10 reps, if you can do that, fantastic exercise. Okay, next up, flutter kicks. Another interesting exercise for your abdominals. If you guys have ever taken swim classes when you were a kid, and they taught you when you're swimming, you're doing the front crawl or whatever, you gotta have your legs kind of going like that, like flutter kick. Similar concept. You should ideally be sitting on a bench or something. You could probably do these on the ground, except it'd be a little bit difficult because your feet, you have to be at least a little bit of elevation. So usually if you can get a bench, a chair, a step, anything at all. Right here, this is already using my abs to maintain tension. And now we just, that's it. Keep your legs relatively straight, none of this. That's a different exercise, that's the bicycle. Still good, but not the same. Nice and straight. 2 kicks with both your feet, that's 1 rep. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 1, 2, 3, that's it. Hanging knee raises. All you're gonna do is put yourself in a dead hang. You're gonna bring your knees up, both the knees at the same time, up to this, and that's it. The whole point is to focus on your abdominals, because that's what's doing the actual crunching power. Now, there is a more advanced version. If you guys think that this is too easy, if you can do this for the full number of reps and sets, and you're like, wow, I had like at least 5 more reps in me on all the sets. That wasn't even half as intense as I could go. In that case, you need to make it a little bit more difficult. All you do is, instead of doing it with the knee raises, you do it hanging straight leg raises. It's gonna focus a lot on your abdominals, but especially your lower abdominals. All right, our final exercise, simply put, the dead hang. You're not doing anything, you're just gonna get on the bar, overhand, and just hold it. And that's it. Now this may seem kind of easy, because it's like, oh, I can do pull-ups and chin-ups. Now you just want me to hang there? Yeah. Good luck doing this for like 40, 50, 60 seconds at a time, especially at the very end of your actual workout. This one is primarily going to focus on your forearms. You do this, after 30 seconds, your forearms are gonna be on fire, and they're gonna be like hard as granite. There's so much blood just pumping through there. It's an awesome and somewhat interesting exercise. Just sit here, hang here, enjoy the weather. If you're not alone, you can have a conversation, whatever you wanna do, as long as you can hold it, you're good. Oh, like after that, just doing this for so long, this is like on fire, it's burning. I warn you, if you do this, especially if you're new to this, for the next 3 days, whenever you're on the computer, you're typing, it's just like, ow, ow, ow. You'll get used to it, don't worry. All right guys, that is it. That is the full explanation of all the calisthenics exercises in my actual program. Now, this is not all the workouts in the world. There are literally like hundreds, thousands. The cool thing about bodyweight training is that you have to get very creative because you don't have access to all the different equipment, handles, bars, free weights, all this interesting stuff. But there's still so much that you can do. This is just a nice, like 10, 15 exercises, especially for those of you who may be a little bit of a beginner. Maybe you're someone who's experienced with training in the gym, but you wanna transfer over and start experimenting with calisthenics. In my opinion, this set of exercises is a very good way. It's a very good introduction to it. If you want to get more advanced, let me know. Leave me a comment down below, and maybe in the future I'll make a full, intermediate specific program as opposed to this, which is kind of just calisthenics on the side as a little cherry on top for your actual Hybrid 5.